Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us this week. Have a couple of beers and some conversation. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how's it going?
It's going. I did a lot of driving yesterday, and I don't know why the next day I feel just wrecked, but just a lot of driving makes you feel like that. So
so we'll hear a little bit more about this soon, but I know that you're one that when you and the missus go on vacation, it's not much of a vacation. It's it's a workout, and then you do come back and you're exhausted. And you're like, wait a minute, I just went on vacation.
I think going forward, it's smart to always come back a day or two earlier while you still have time off to recover from your time off. So
did you work today?
I didn't. No.
Okay,
no.
So you got a day then. So
yeah. No, I knew I wasn't gonna. I have to do a lot of prep for the show, and I'm like, I'm not getting it done, after doing all the drive. So I'm like, I'll do it, get it done this afternoon. So that's what I did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Nate, how are you doing?
Doing well. The long weekend was really nice. I kind of get some rest in after a long work week. So, just excited to be back here and back at it.
Back in the saddle. Good stuff. Well, Brian, speaking of your vacation, you went to Louisville, I believe is the way it's supposed to be pronounced. Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes, I did.
You drank beer, but you also drank, there's a spirit there, I believe, that they're fairly well known for.
Oh, you're talking about chartreuse.
Yes. Yeah. The good old Kentucky bonded chartreuse.
Exactly,
man.
No, plenty of bourbon, plenty of rye, variety of whiskey. Part of the whole trip was us practicing how to say Louisville. I think I got it right. Louisville. All right. It's like not even Ville, it's Vol. So
Louisville. Yeah, a lot of towns that have Ville at the end, it's not like. Do you know the proper way to say the name of the city you're in?
Atlanta.
No, you are wrong.
Am I off?
It doesn't have a second. It doesn't have a second T in it. That's I don't know if you're aware of
swallow that though usually.
Atlanta. Yeah.
I didn't say the second T. I know it's like you don't even say it.
See, I thought it was fair. I misunderstood your pronunciation there. Then
it could be I accidentally threw it in there because I'm from the Northwest. We usually say letters we see, but I've gotten to the point where I've bruised through that because I've said it so many times. So I think I say it right most of the time. If I add extra to it, then it's a holdover from where I'm from. But this is locals only thing, but in Roswell, which is a suburb of Atlanta, there's a street that's Mansell. Right? How do you pronounce that, Brian? Oh, is that Mansell?
Okay, so that's the way I would say it. But I had a very elderly person tell me one time it's Mansell.
Mansell? Oh,
but they're the only person I knew say that. I guess that was in their day and age. That was a pronunciation, but it's times change.
I'm pretty sure that I probably would have said by default Mansell because that's how we would have said it over in Oregon. I think I heard somebody say Mansell.
That's me too. Yeah.
That's why I say it that way, because I didn't have a thought in my mind about it. So, and that was very close to a place I work. So that street would have been discussed. So
same for me. Yeah,
absolutely.
But with that said, Brian, tell us about the alcoholic beverages in Louisville.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Louisville. Yes.
All right. Gotcha.
The less you say, the better, I think, is what it comes to. But I got in the first night when I drove in, stopped it against the grain because it happened to be really close to where I was staying. Had the beer I'm drinking right now, Citra Ass Down, was the first thing I had when I showed up. It was cool. It was it's like, I've been wanting to go there, check it out. And so that was fun. There was a game that was just getting out because it's in a stadium. So we saw the people leaving and we had a little time, had some time, the good food there. But I went through a few things. They had a bunch of fun things. I haven't gotten into them yet, but they had some, you remember the 35K and the 70K? They have
big
variants of the 70K that I brought back. wax. So it was like a cherry barrel one and a bunch of other stuff. So they're still making those. It's still cool. I don't think they do most of their brewing at that spot anymore. I think they have a separate facility, but I think when we had them on the show, they were probably doing all their brewing there as well. So that was fun. Got to hang out there for a few hours, have some good food and unwind. Also checked out Goodwood, which I see and I get confused because we have Good Word, but it's Goodwood. Yeah, on Whiskey Row. And I had a few beers there. They weren't my favorites, I'll say that, but it was a great place to hang out. They have a great whiskey list, and the prices there for bourbon are incredible compared to what we pay. So, I hung out, and that's the place I shut down and wound up doing shots with the guys after hours. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't want them to get in trouble, but that was fun. I think the best beers I had, though, were at Atrium, and I've heard a lot of people talk about how good Atrium is. I had their Czech Pilsner off the side pull, which was great. I saw a Terpene IPA, which I haven't seen in a while, and drank that. There were a bunch of other stuff. And they had food that I think you would appreciate. It was very, very much like Palookaville, if you remember that, like carny food.
Yeah.
It kind of like hot dogs. Right. And I think I had something called, was it bratchos? It was like nachos with bratwurst in it. And I want to say it was like fries, not chips. It was like carny food. Yeah, like I said, the bourbon was everywhere. It was really inexpensive most places compared to what we pay here. It's crazy, the selection. That just a place that did beer, they just tons. Like they'd have a well-stocked bourbon selection. I'm like, this is madness. Even my hotel, the place I was staying, they had their own barrel pick of what's it called? Anyway, they had a barrel pick of their bourbon with the hotel's name on it, which I thought was funny. That said, Pappy and the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection bourbons were still jacked up pretty good. So if you saw those, you still were paying in excess of $50 a pour for most of those, probably even higher for a lot of them. There were bourbon flights everywhere, so I had those as often as I could because I got to explore a lot more bourbon that way. Checked out the distilleries. I saw Michter's downtown in Louisville, and that was fun. Had a mint julep there and a coffee Negroni riff that was really cool. And I went to Willett out in Bardstown, which is on the Bourbon Trail, and that's beautiful. That place is beautiful. I love Willett spirits anyway, so I got to drink some stuff there, take in the scenery. And it was a little hazy and cloudy and foggy there, so it just added to the whole effect. Just beautiful spirits and beautiful scenery. And I would just like to go back and spend a week just hanging out in that area, just checking out all the different little distilleries that are there. It's a heck of a time, and I think I'll probably wind up going back at some point in time. Cool. Possibly next year. So nice. Yeah.
The annual Kentucky trip, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Oh, something you would have loved is, I got to say, the parking situation in Louisville would have been your favorite. It's
you know how I am about parking.
Yeah. There were people were hitting you up for money left and right. You definitely need to make sure you get a hotel that has its own parking lot. Mine did not, so I had street parking.
Okay.
So they did valet, but to give you an idea of how they handle parking there, valet overnight was $50 a night.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. When I went to, it's been a while, but I went down to New Orleans for a cigar trade show down there back when I was into cigars more. And my hotel, I think parking was self-park, but it was still like $35 or $40 a night. And this was a decade ago, I guess. So,
yeah.
They really don't want you driving there. Crazy stuff. But I'm a suburbanite. I go in town to do things, but I live in the suburbs, and I'm a firm believer you should be able to just park in front of where you're going and walk in.
Yeah.
And my story from last weekend or from last week's show about the parking garage prisoner situation is exactly the reason. It's just ridiculous. You got to get in a garage, you got to park in a lot and pay. It's ridiculosity, Brian. It's just absolute ridiculosity.
It is. And I found a spot near Whiskey Row. I'm like, oh, this is convenient. It's just a lot. It's just pavement and you park. I went to look at the options. It was $30 and there was only overnight selection. So just for me to park there and spend an hour or two in those places. So you do what you do. You look around, you find a spot that's got a meter or one that doesn't, and you go with that. Oh, one other thing that was fun, food-wise, they have a thing there that I'd never heard of before called the Hot Brown, which is an open-faced turkey sandwich. And I got to say, all the food was heavy and rich, and I I think they've got us beat in terms of just the denseness and the richness of the food. But the hot brown is a local creation, never heard about. Open faced turkey sandwich on Texas toast, bacon, tomatoes, cheesy Mornay sauce. Often has a fried egg on top. Sometimes instead of Texas toast, they have like a biscuit or something. I don't know if I've ever eaten anything more heavy in my life. It's quite a thing. Yeah.
I'm going to say something. You know, this is one of my favorite things to do. You do know what a hot brown is, and you have had
a hot brown. Have I had a hot brown?
It is very common at like derby parties and such, the Kentucky Derby parties. And I remember a year we did a derby party at Wise Ass Cigars.
Oh, we're going back a ways.
Yeah, and they were this guy did crepes. He owned a restaurant that did crepes. And he did hot brown crepe rolls there. So
I don't know if you sure I've had him at Derby.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, all right. I don't know.
But you know what, Brian? You discovered something again. So you know, with your Alzheimer's, every day is going to be 51st sandwiches, Brian.
Yes, Beersheimer's. I've got that.
I
now the crepe thing sounds light. That's again, they wouldn't have done that. Where
lighter.
I saw it happen.
I don't know if you're still stuffing it with all that stuff. It's still going to be pretty dense there.
Yeah, if they truly were. I was just impressed by it's named after a hotel there. It's a famous thing, and it's like, this is a whole thing because every place seemed to have their own riff on it. So okay, well, apparently had it.
The hot brown is a thing. Yep, it sure is. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of things on toast, though, remember the time we went to that Irish pub up by me? And I think they called it the Irish Shoe.
Shoe
is what their name was. And they said it was Texas toast with French fries, meat, and cheese. And I don't know why, Brian. I don't know why, but the way they describe, I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Kind of an open. I'm like, this is like toast and fries and some meat on it. It was just the most disappointing experience in the world, Brian.
I actually thought about the Irish Shoe when I was seeing that. I'm like, oh yeah, Tim's Irish Shoe, because that is so such an incredible thing to experience. So like it was hilarious. Yeah,
it was such an abomination. It was just funny. So I'm like, all right, I had this coming, man. They told me right there what it was, and I still ordered it.
Yeah. Extremely accurate. Yes.
Ah, gosh. Well, guys, let's talk about our beers of the week. Brian, I think you already gave a little teaser as to what you're into, but what else is on your list this week?
Yeah, I pre-gamed with Three Floyd's Zombie Dust, and I happened to be passing through an area where they had that, and it's just an American pale ale, and I found it of all places because I forgot to hit a beer store or liquor store on the way out, which really blows my mind. But I found it at Buc-ee's, believe it or not. And it was a pretty recent batch. So I'm like, all right, Buc-ee's saving the day. So I grabbed a sixer of that on the way back. I picked up some Citra Ass Down from Against the Grain. I'm drinking that right now. That's a double IPA brewed with Citra, but apparently not exclusively Citra based on what I looked into on Untapped. I just Citra forward. So that's a good one. It's a nostalgia beer for me. It's one I was drinking when Against the Grain was huge in this area. Like they had a lot of really sought after beers, and I don't think they distribute here or haven't in a while, but I really liked that beer back in the day, so it's fun to drink it again. And I'm going to follow up the show with the after party. Going to get into a Double Chance from Wild Leap. That is a DIPA celebrating their 100th tank of beer at Wild Leap, and it's got twice the hops of Chance IPA, the regular Chance IPA, and they bumped up the ABV from 6.2% to 8%. So it's just a bigger, boozier Chance IPA. So I like what they do. And of course I had to go get this. So that is what I'll get into afterwards. How about you, Tim? What are you doing?
Chance is a good one. I think it's kind of underappreciated. The old underrated beer there. It's just out there doing its thing. But if you want a good, basic, solid IPA, it hits that mark very much.
I think when it was new, it was fine, but they tweaked it at some point, a year or two into the brewery being, and it went from being okay, it's not bad, to being that's a really good IPA. So if you tried it many years ago and wrote it off, I'd try it again for sure.
Good stuff, man. Brian, mine's pretty simple, man. I have a Cockendorfer, excuse me for not knowing the correct pronunciation there. I don't know how they say it in Oklahoma, but a cream ale here. So I'm a big fan of the style, good drinking beer. And that is, that's my beer of the week, Brian. Sweet, short and sweet on that list. So Nate, what you getting into?
So I've got a rare pregame for the day. Over the weekend, I helped out a buddy with some home brewing and walked away with some Anheuser-Busch Bud Heavy. So I had a little can of Budweiser to start off getting ready for the show. And then in my glass right now from Dutchess Ales, I've got their Ketzer Lager, which is a Helles Keller beer. And then on deck from Weldworks, I just saw it in my local beer shop and had to have it. Their Juicy Tiles, which is a collaboration beer with Trillium. It's a double New England IPA with wildflower honey. Very excited.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. We got Zach West says he's drinking a Pilsen Liberation, which is a really good beer that Three Taverns here does. And in conjunction, it's not, I guess it's a collaboration. They don't brew it together, but like they go over to Pilsen and brew
Pilsner Urquell.
With Pilsner Urquell, and then this is the one they do here for there's a Pilsen Liberation celebration over there. And
I think it's I
haven't got that this year. It's always a good beer though.
I think it's actually with their experimental brewery, and I forget the name of the experimental brewery, but yeah, Pilsner Urquell. And I think I saw pictures of them. Maybe it was on social media. It might have been old pictures, but of them over there, maybe again, or maybe it was from a previous year. And I'm like, oh yeah, that might be coming back. Yeah. So that's a fun one to get when that arrives.
It is.
Over on Instagram, we've got Let Us Drink Beer Blog enjoying Toppling Goliath's Pseudo Sue. One of those classic IPAs. And then Anasazi Pete visited Treehouse last Friday and shared a number of barrel-aged beers. Sours, it looks like. Yeah.
I still have not done the Northeast tour of breweries there to see what all is going on there, but that's definitely something. It's been on the list for like 15 years now. I just haven't made it up that way to make it happen.
I only just got to go, see Against the Grain after. It's been how long? Like 6 years since we talked to them on the show. And like, just swing by and check it out. Like it took me that long to get over there. Yeah.
Did you see anybody that you knew, or I would say they probably would have no idea who? Hey, I'm Brian with Beer Guys Radio. They're like, okay.
Who?
Congratulations. Way to go, man. Way to go.
Yeah, it's I got in kind of late. It was I think it was a Saturday, the day I got in, and they weren't going to be open too much later. Like the game was ending. So yeah, they were winding down a bit, and so there wasn't many people there, but they were super nice. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. So yeah.
Good deal. Brian, we have a couple of updates out of Asheville. I'm going to start with some sad news here, Brian, but a craft beer pioneer, an OG of Asheville beer, has passed away.
Yes. Oscar Wong, and this has been all over, beer social media. You're definitely going to be seeing this story discussed. Oscar Wong, the founder of Highland Brewing Company, often referred to as the godfather of Asheville craft beer. He died on Sunday, May 25th. He was 84. I did not realize that he was that old, honestly.
He didn't look it. That's for sure.
No, he didn't. He really looked a lot younger. I assumed like 20 years younger. I found out, he founded Highland Brewing Company in 1994, which was Asheville's first legal craft brewery since the Prohibition era. He founded that when he was 53. This was like a retirement
project. The math works out there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. A project for him. I'm like, I had no idea. Like people have, we've seen people in their 50s, starting craft breweries, but yeah, looking back, I was like, wow, that was really aggressive. But anyway, he played a critical role in establishing Asheville as a nationally respected craft beer city. Highland Brewing is now the largest family-owned brewery in the southeastern United States. It is now run by Wong's daughter, Leah Wong Ashburn, and that's been since 2015. In 2020, Oscar Wong received the Brewers Association's Recognition Award for kicking off a craft beer renaissance in Asheville that led to the city becoming the beer destination it is today. In 2023, he was awarded the Order of the Long Leaf Pine, which is the highest honor you can be given by the governor of North Carolina. And May 16th was officially declared Oscar Wong Day in Asheville. And I believe the entire county, possibly the whole state, but he officially has a day for in recognition of him. A celebration of Oscar Wong's life will be held at noon on June 29th at Highland Brewing in Asheville if you'd like to go pay your respects. And I think it's a ways out, so they can probably have people come in from other places because he knew everybody, and there are a lot of people really liked him. Unfortunately, I never met him, but by all accounts, heck of a guy, you know.
Asheville or Highland's always been good to us. They've always reached out to us when they have new things going on, when they had events at the brewery. We always look forward to Cold Mountain every year. You know, they always make sure we get some of that to enjoy when it comes out and get some of the variants there. So I think they were, you know, there were breweries that were more hype than Highland, you know, more popular, I guess, modern trendy styles and such, but they were solid, man. And you really can't argue. I shouldn't say they were. I mean, they still are, you know, even though Oscar's passed away, but you know, just solid beers, man. Just solid stuff that they
apparently do. He was hanging out at the brewery right up until not very long ago. So
yeah.
Like he'd had a cancer diagnosis for a number of years, and apparently he outlasted a lot of their projections about how long he had left, and he was still hanging out. And people said, "Oh yeah, I just saw him like 3 months ago at the brewery." I'm like, yeah, he was just doing his thing, and he hasn't officially run the place in like 10 years. So, but he's been there doing his thing, and you know, being the best selling point about the brewery, I guess, you know.
Well, thanks, Mr. Wong, for what you did for craft beer in general, and definitely for Asheville. So, and condolences to your family and friends. Absolutely. Brian, on a little more positive note on Asheville news, we haven't talked about this in quite a while. Hurricane Helene that went through there. I mean, absolutely destroyed a lot of the breweries there. Yeah. But we saw recently Wire Brewing has reopened.
Yeah, it's been 8 months since that happened, but this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend, Wire Brewing's River Arts District Beer Garden reopened to what was reportedly a good crowd of locals. Ordinarily, Memorial Day is a big weekend for tourism, but apparently tourists haven't yet returned. I think people don't realize that things are probably picking up, and you know, you could go back and visit. I think one of the quotes in a story I read when I was doing a bunch of research for this is like, "Hey, we're open. Come on over, you know, hang out, you know, have some fun, spend some money, you know, you'll help us out." So if tourists have returned in any number, I don't have official figures. They're not nearly the number that they would have seen pre Helene. But I did some looking after seeing that they were open. I tried to chase down a bunch more details about the other breweries that we knew were affected, and it's a little hard to find some of it because a lot of them don't really maintain any kind of update on social media since they're, you know, kind of closed and working on reopening if they are. But here's what I could find. The first thing, the New Belgium location in Asheville was back to normal by the end of January. I went searching and they had a party in January that's like, "Hey, we're back to normal. Everything's cool." So they've been good for a while. Zillicoa Beer Company, which I was at, you know, years before the storm. Apparently the storm just flushed the entire building out, and there's nothing other than the structure. So they're still working on reopening. They're still rebuilding. So I don't know what their ETA is on that, but that's tragic. But they are on their way back. Wedge Brewing in the Foundation location. That's a Foundation is either some neighborhood or maybe it's some strip mall or something like that. But that still appears to be closed, and it's not clear. I couldn't find anything about whether it's being reopened, but they were one of the first ones that was mentioned as having been shut down. 12 Bones Brewing in that same Foundation area is no longer even mentioned on the company's website or social media, so that's probably gone for good. I get this feeling like this, whatever Foundation happens to be, probably everything that was there is not going to be reopening up in that location. So French Broad River Tap Room is open, but their restaurant is still closed for repair. This is one I don't know how to say the name exactly, but Cursus Keem. I think it's brewery.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. That was mentioned by a lot of people as being a favorite. It was destroyed. It's still closed. It appears maybe that some work is being done on rebuilding, but there's not really much information online, but there is a little bit that indicates that they might be on the way back. New Origin was wiped out, and the rebuilding process is slow going. As of a few months ago, they were still clearing train car wreckage from their property, so they were getting that out. I haven't seen an update since then. Whaley Farm and Big Pillow have GoFundMes set up to assist with rebuilding. Those are still live. The former Whaley Farm is still closed, and Big Pillow appears to possibly be open in some capacity. Seven Clans Brewing and Chimney Rock Brewing Company both appear to be permanently closed. Some of what I've read online indicates the Seven Clans was actually in the process of closing. The business wasn't doing too well, and Helene hit, and they just they're done. Don't know anything about the other one. I believe Sierra Nevada, Highland Brewing, Dissolver, and Burial all had very minor damage, if any at all, and they were all quickly back to normal operations, and they were helping out other breweries, so they're still good. So a lot of progress has been made, but there are definitely maybe like half a dozen breweries out there that are still in the process of trying to rebuild. Some just flat out aren't going to rebuild where their location was. You just can't for one reason or another. And I know at least one brewery that might still, I forget which one it was. I think it's one of the ones that's probably not coming back. They just didn't have the insurance to cover it. They just simply couldn't do it. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but some are coming back. And like I said, we've got Highwire reopening, which is good to see because they really got hit hard.
They got hit. We talked about it when this happened, that we know the state of craft beer right now. We know how many breweries are struggling in that. And we kind of figured that the hurricane would just kind of wipe some out permanently, that it was just going to happen. Unfortunately, or could have even been fortunately. I mean, I don't know about insurance coverage in that, but some people may have been on the verge of closing and got. I don't even want to use the term windfall or something because that's not right in this given situation. But maybe a silver lining on the hurricane clouds there. That kind of help things out. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I was afraid we'd see some losses through that. But it's good to hear. I mean, quite a few of them coming back, or at least in the process of still doing it. So
yeah,
obviously they think things are good enough now to put in the effort to get going again.
I think I saw about like half a dozen ish GoFundMe's out there that hadn't been completely. Yeah. So I don't know if that means with those, if they really are going to, or if they have to hit a threshold before they're going to be able to, financially. So yeah, they're trying. I don't know if all of them will succeed. There are a few that definitely seem like they are going to make a comeback, but
giving it their best shot. Good for them, man.
Hard to know.
I hope they can work it out. I hope that they can work it out. And Brian, another passing of a famous beer drinker that I believe many of us know quite well, George Wendt, also known as Norm from Cheers, passed away this week.
Yeah, we couldn't not say something. The guy he's
a legendary beer drinker, man. Absolutely.
A legendary beer drinker, and really was. He passed away at 76. He apparently passed peacefully in his sleep, which if you're going to go, that's the way to go. Right. According to people that were interviewed for the article I read, George Wendt was a lot like Norm. He was laid back. He was warm. He was comfortable at a bar, and he was often found drinking in taverns in real life. People had anecdotes about meeting him and how he's a great guy. Unlike the character, the one difference was he was from Chicago, not from Boston, but he was welcome in Boston at any time because everybody loved him. So Wendt's passing occurred, and this is really interesting, 32 years to the day of the finale, the series finale of Cheers. It happened on May 20th, 1993. He passed on May 20th, 2025. So 32 years exactly, which is an interesting coincidence. I don't know even what to make of it, but yeah, he was kind of. I
mean, those things are interesting, even if they're meaningless. It's just kind of interesting the way timing like that stuff works out. And Brian, I found out you said you probably only watched Cheers like twice, huh?
Yeah, seriously. It did end in 93, and this was at a period of time where, I was still living at home.
Your thing.
Yeah.
Or was it banned for being a product of that? No, you would have been old enough where it wasn't banned for being a product of the devil, right?
Maybe.
Still in that range there. I'm thinking about the timeline there. So yeah, I guess that would have been kind of right on the cusp of it there.
So I would be very much subject to what either I could watch at home or what I could watch at friends' places. And to be fair, most of my friends were not watching Cheers. So when we were watching stuff, we were watching MTV back in that time, and I enjoyed MTV. And at home, we definitely wouldn't have been watching a show about a beer bar. So as much as I probably would have enjoyed it, I didn't. So I think I saw a couple of episodes. I've thought about going back, and I'm like, I should just go watch the whole thing. I know the era. I'll be able to feel the era. I know that time. So, and I like a lot of the actors in there. So,
Nate, have you seen even one episode of Cheers?
Not a full episode. I've only seen scenes of Norm walking up to a beer and having like a witty response of, an interaction between the bartender and Norm's character about, or I guess Norm is the character about, ordering beer. I don't know what Cheers is about.
Nothing really.
That's like Seinfeld.
And you know what? In all honesty, that was kind of popular in that time. That time period throughout the 90s. Those shows where it's just, I guess that's what they are, sitcoms. It's just that's
a slice of life sitcom. That's basically it. Yeah, the one I keep seeing is something about Norm telling me a story. It's like, boy meets beer, boy drinks beer, boy orders another beer, and he finishes that as he's walking across the bar and sits down and gets a beer. So that's kind of the setup. And like, you know what? I need to actually go through and watch all these. It's kind of a little embarrassing. I haven't seen them, but it's one of those things. It ended back in '93. I haven't exactly gone back and watched
a lot of big names on it, though. Of course, I mean, you had Ted Danson.
Yeah.
And what was the lady's name that passed away? So that's
did she pass? Oh,
there was the first one that played Rebecca. I don't know if she kept the name, but
Perlman, Rita Perlman.
No, gosh. Somebody? All right,
she was in there. She's Carla Pertelli. The actress who plays Rebecca is Kirstie Alley. Yeah,
Kirstie Alley. Did Kirstie Alley pass away?
I think so. Nate, can you fact check me there and make sure I'm not messing up on things? Maybe
he passed away December 5th of 2022
on something. Okay,
I did not know that.
And then Shelley Duvall, after Kirstie Alley left, Shelley Duvall was on there. Kelsey Grammer, Woody Harrelson.
Oh yeah,
all these names.
Kelsey Grammer, what was his thing when he was doing a radio show or whatever in Seattle? I did see a few episodes of that.
He was on Frasier.
Yeah, like that was a spin-off show. Like that was his character from. Yep. I'd forgotten about that from Cheers. I actually did see that because that ran. I want to say it was like on daytime television. They were rerunning that all the time. Yeah. So that did show up like late 90s, and so that was like me sitting in a dorm or something like that. I'm like, all right, Simpsons and Frasier. I'm like, all right, I'll just watch this because it's on. It's what I have.
Good stuff. So there's our recommendation, y'all. If you haven't seen Cheers and you're looking for some old, I guess it would be considered classic TV right now, retro TV or whatever, and you want something that doesn't require you to think too much and just entertained by some cheesy jokes and that, check out Cheers. We recommend it. Go visit Norm. Go visit Norm at the bar.
Yeah, seriously.
It'll be a good time. Well, Brian, how about we give a shout out to Truck and Tap?
That's a great idea. So in honor of the cloudy, foggy weather that has been following me all week long, and it seriously seems like a week, and also the general fogginess that follows me after drinking a bunch of bourbon in Kentucky, my Truck and Tap beer picks for the week are all hazy or opaque beers. Crystal clear beers need not apply this week. So let's get to it. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Bissell Brothers The Substance. It's a hazy IPA with Falconer's Flight, Centennial, Apollo, Eureka, and Chinook hops, and that is a great selection of hops right there. I've had this one before, just last week, in fact. I think I had it on the show, in fact. And it's always a good idea to grab a Bissell Brothers pour when you can, when you see it, in these parts anyway, because it might be a while before you see it again. They're kind of erratic with their drops of things like that. It's fun. It's a fun beer. They make good stuff. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Creature Comforts Glittering Eyes IPA. It's another hazy IPA, this time featuring experimental yeast and a mysterious, undisclosed hop blend that is said to be complex. And that's in the Untapped write-up for it officially. Wow. That sounds like a mystery that needs to be investigated orally. So I'm going to do that. Yeah. Did that sound dirty? Because they kind of
did. It did. It was at the goal. Congratulations, Brian.
I was trying to sound a little creepy and dirty there.
Yeah,
but
congrats.
I'm sorry. Anyway, back to it at Truck and Tap Alpharetta. My pick is Perennial's Vanilla Bean Abraxas. It's a Mexican pastry stout with vanilla beans, of course, and ancho chili, cacao, and cinnamon. There will definitely be no light passing through this thick boy. So that fits the mold for the week. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Maui Brewing's Pineapple Manna Wheat. As the name implies, it's a wheat beer brewed with Maui Gold pineapples. And I didn't know this, but apparently Maui Gold pineapples are less acidic than other kinds of pineapples. Something about volcanic soil or something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But were you familiar with Maui Gold pineapples?
I was not. No, but I learned something every day.
I kind of want to have
you
those
in Maui Gold in your life, right?
I want to try those and the others side by side, because I have noticed that I like pineapple, but it is a little on the acidic side. But accordingly, the beer is described as being sweet and only slightly tart. I don't know why, but I kind of want to throw a shot of coconut rum in one of these and drink that. And I bet you could make that happen at the Lawrenceville Truck and Tap location. They might be able to hook you up with that.
Yeah.
As always, you don't have to stick with beer at Truck and Tap. There are other options too. They've got wine, spirits, and cocktails. They also have non-alcoholic options too. I think I've seen coffee on tap a number of times, cold brew. And if you'd like to see what's happening at your local Truck and Tap, just visit truckandtap.com. You'll find information about events, the food trucks, drinks, links to social media for each location, and the social media does have a lot more details on a day-to-day basis about what's happening, and that's truckandtap.com. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thanks, Truck and Tap. We appreciate it. Brian, more strikes. Many strike news so many times. Threatening to strike, going to strike. They're on strike. Krombacher Brewing, Krombacher Brewery workers are on strike.
Yes, and I'm not. You know what? I hadn't really thought about how to say it, but I think Krombacher is probably right. I feel like there's been a lot more strikes in the past couple of years than there were during the heydays of craft beer. But maybe I'm just noticing it.
They're sick of it. Yeah.
They want more money. So the workers at Germany's Krombacher Brewery have gone on strike due to an unresolved wage dispute. The union representing the workers is seeking a 6.6% wage increase this year, while the company is offering just 2% for this year, but also 2.2% for next year. Does not add up to 6%. There is concern that the strike could impact beer production during the summer, potentially affecting some upcoming big beer drinking holidays and some summer festivals, which would be unfortunate. Krombacher is not going to say anything officially about the strike or the negotiations, but they have stated that production so far and delivery capacity has not yet been affected. They don't say whether or not it will be in the future. They just say it hasn't been yet. A third round of negotiations between the union and Krombacher is scheduled for July 8th, and that's quite a ways out. So if they don't make anything between now and then, I have to wonder if that's going to affect some of their supply. But I'm not sure if it's related, but I was having a look to see. I thought I'd had Krombacher before, and I was looking on Untapped, and one of the first check-ins I saw featured a picture of somebody giving the bird as the beer check-in. So I don't know if that's related to this, but part of me thinks that's probably like some worker related expressing somehow. Their lack of satisfaction with the beer. But have you guys had Krombacher before? I've seen it around. I've definitely had it, but
I feel like I probably have. I mean, the name sounds familiar. I will say that it didn't make enough of an impression on me that it just jumps out as one I remember. So, for what that's worth.
The Krombacher Pills, I looked that one up kind of by accident. It was one of the more popular ones. Turns out the Der Beer Garden, I had it there, and I mentioned that I really liked it. I was like, oh, this is really nice. I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, cool. I like that about Untapped. I went back and used it to see, what do I think about this beer? Well, past me thought it was good. So,
Brian of the past. Okay. Well, there you go then. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Brian, some good news. Yes. Georgia's beer consumption has hit an all-time high.
That's what I've heard. There's a catch, though. That's Georgia the country, not Georgia the state. So it's not us that's done this. But it's always good to hear about, stories about growth in the beer industry, wherever it may be happening. So I looked into it a little bit. According to market analysis published by TBC Capital, the country of Georgia set a beer consumption record in 2024. The country drank 138 million liters, or 36.5 million gallons of beer in 2024, which was a significant increase from 105 million liters, or 27.7 million gallons, which was last recorded when they did it before in 2020. So over 5 years, they jumped up. What is that? About 10 million gallons?
Like 30%. Let me see. Am I mathing right? I mean, 105 to 138. That's 33 million gallons there, or excuse me, liters.
That's liters.
33 million liters. Okay, so almost 10 million gallons, which is a lot if you weren't aware.
It's like, it is. I think the difference, if I'm mathing right, is it like 9.2 9.2 million gallon difference, or is that 8.2? I don't know. Anyway, it's a lot. It's a lot of beer. They've jumped quite a bit. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 30%. The average beer drinker, and they were checking that they were people, including people aged 15 and older,
All
because
right, then.
apparently that's a legal drinking age there. The average drinker consumed 46 liters or 12.2 gallons of beer in 2024, up from 36 liters in 2020. And that's they were doing in 2020 9.5 gallons a year, up to 12.2 gallons. Part of me is thinking, it's like, that doesn't sound like that much for an entire year for a single person, but I guess that's just the average drinker. So that's going to be spread out across maybe all of the populace that doesn't drink very much. So I don't know. Their data shows a growing preference for imported beer, with its share of total consumption doubling from 6% to 13% over the past 5 years, which is interesting. That is probably related to the price of import beers actually dropping by 7% for the people in Georgia between 2023 and 2024, while locally produced beer prices have remained about the same. So it gets cheaper to drink the other, and if you like it about as well, might as well go get the cheaper option, right? So
yeah,
we could argue drink local, but
So to throw some more easily digestible numbers your way, Brian, so 9.5 gallons in a year works out to about 23.4 ounces per week. So we're talking a couple beers a week. And again, we're talking about, this is the average across, everybody there, including those that don't drink. And 12.2 gallons gets us up to 30.03 U.S. fluid ounces. So about 2 and a quarter, a half a can there, 2.5 12-ounce beers there per week.
So it's not.
I wonder how those 15-year-olds are skewing the number by just hammering cases every week there. You know what? I wonder,
they probably are.
I think in a lot of those countries, they do have a kid's beer or whatever. And what's it? Root brewed or something like that. The rye beer that is essentially. They just kind of tear up rye bread, and it ferments to a really low ABV. And I've seen things over there where they have like a cart that goes around with a massive keg on it, like what we would call a what do they call the thing they age sour beers in? The big wooden barrel, Brian.
A fooder.
Yeah, kind of looking like that, strapped on a cart, and they're like, here you go, come get your rye beer there, 1.3%. 15-year-olds and up. Let's do this.
They play the ice cream truck music as it's rolling through.
They really should do that. If you had a beer truck going around playing Ice Cream Man music, think about it. Just great. Just great.
That'd be amazing. I seem to remember hearing that I was briefly in Germany once, and around the time Berliners were super hot over here, and ordering it over there, I think we got a weird response because it was kind of considered like a kid's beer, like it's a small, low ABV beer, and they had syrups they put in it. And we're like, yeah, man, that's great. We love that. We're into that over there. Like all the craft beer nerds were like, like this is our thing. Get it. And they were like, what? And we drank them out of stock. Like they didn't stock that.
This is literally for children. Literally for children.
Why are you kids? You want a sippy cup to go with that? They served them up, though. I'm sure that probably to this day they talked about the silly Americans that came in and drank all the kids' beer. Yeah. And you just think you're getting the greatest thing ever because you're in Germany drinking Berliner Mittschuss.
Yeah. And so
Waldmeister even. I think I had legit Waldmeister.
The real deal stuff there, huh?
Yeah, it's good stuff,
man. Good stuff. Congrats, Georgia, and all you 15-year-olds that are taking your test at school a bit hungover. Congratulations there. Brian, more beer data there, stuff we don't need to hear about. We don't need this kind of negativity in our life, but how does it impact our waistline? We've got some info on calories in popular beers.
I think this stuff is fun. I'm aware that there are calories in beer, and I like occasionally hearing about it while I drink beer and then promptly forget about it. But VinePair they recently published a list of the calorie counts in the 50 most popular beers sold in the U.S. And I like data, so I looked it over and like this how do they all rank? How they fall out? So I don't know. I've never really looked too deeply into any of this, but they also pointed out before I get into the actual calories that beer. When people think about it having calories, it has a lot of those, but it's more than just calories and sugars and that sort of thing. It also has B vitamins, minerals, trace amounts of protein, and some antioxidants. So there are some redeeming, values in beer. It is technically.
Well, we know that the monks will do a fast and live off of beer. So, if you brew it right, it's not just for getting lit up on there.
Yeah, especially those ones with the bigger maltier ones. So
right.
But back to calories, generally speaking, the higher the beer is in alcohol content, the more calories it will have because a lot of the calories are coming from the alcohol itself. Of course, that can fluctuate a bit depending on what other things are in beer. We have the concept of pastry stouts now. And so if you have two 9% stouts, one of them is just a regular stout and the other has like lactose and stroopwafels in it. The chances are the one with the lactose and stroopwafels will probably have the higher calorie count just because it's got all that extra stuff in it. So
depends on how thick it is, though.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
How much sugar do they leave in that thick beer?
All of it. The last time I had a stroopwafel beer, it was basically a puree of stroopwafels. So yeah. But now for some calorie stats, there's a three-way tie for the beer with the lowest calorie count, which is something that people are always interested in. Busch Light, Michelob Ultra, and Natural Light all have 95 calories per 12-ounce can. I would have thought the way the marketing goes, and it's probably really good marketing, that Michelob Ultra was the undisputed king of low-calorie beers. It's not. It's tied, with two other beers. On the other end,
interesting that's Busch Light and Natural Light. When Michelob went for the Ultra, trying to act like they were the lowest, but then Busch Light is like, yeah, we're there, buddy. We're 95. We got that. Yeah.
Like, welcome to the club.
That's right. That's right. Thanks
We've been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, if you remember when Michelob Ultra first came out, I believe that coincided with the low carb craze. So their push was like having the lowest carbs, and then as a side note, like low calories. But they pushed really hard on the carb thing. I don't know if they do that anymore because the low carb diets aren't nearly as trendy as they once were. I think that they were possibly the lowest carb beer out there for a while, but all right. So did I cut you off? No. Okay.
No, I was doing some Googling because I thought there was a beer out there lower, Brian, and I don't know if it's still around. I'm trying to find out, but I'm trying to get age verified here. Budweiser has one called Budweiser Select 55, which is 55 calories here. So, and it's at a blazing 2.4% ABV.
Oh,
yeah. So I thought I heard about. I don't know if it's still around, but there's a 55 calorie beer.
Wait,
for you.
Is that our American version of the kid beer?
It could be, man.
Basically, yeah.
Give me one of those mint shoots, Nate. So put me some Waldmeister in that. Let's get those calories up.
I was gonna say that'll put the calories way back at the top.
Bring them back in.
I think the reason that wouldn't be included on the list is it's probably not one of the top 50 selling beers in the US.
Okay,
that's what this list
50.
is from.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
That one apparently did not take off for whatever reason. I would have assumed that it being 55 calories. Water. Yeah, probably. It's like I can't lie to myself enough to make myself think this is beer. So I'm going to move on to one that I can. So on the other end of the scale in our top 50 list here, Founders KBS comes out dead last with 340 calories per 12-ounce bottle. From a calorie standpoint, one Founders KBS is equal to 3.6 Busch Lights or Mich Ultras or whatever. The average calories for the entire list of 50 altogether, if you ran an average across all of them, 160.5 per 12-ounce serving. Now for some fun calorie questions where I ask you guys and see if you guys can predict it. So which of these beers has more calories, Guinness or Dos Equis?
Dos Equis.
I was going to go with Dos Equis as well.
And I don't know how many's in Dos Equis, but I know that we've heard about Guinness being fairly low in calories, considering like people think, hey, this is a stout, it's a dark beer, but it's actually not that bad. So yeah, I'm going to say Dos Equis has more calories.
You are correct. Dos Equis, and I don't actually have the exact number in front of me, but I could probably find it if we needed to. But they're up by 6. They got 6 more calories than Guinness. And part of the reason I made a point of including this is because, like exactly what you said, a lot of people think, oh, Guinness, stout, heavy. It's definitely going to be. No, it's not. It's actually almost a diet beer, really. So which has more calories, Heady Topper or Pliny the Elder? What do you guys think about that?
I'm going to go with Pliny just because it's that West Coast, and I think it just comes across as a little bit drier than Heady.
I'm going to go with, and see, that's the exact reason I'm going to go with Heady, because Pliny is a little bit drier, which means it's had a little bit more of the sugars taken out of it. So I would say that Heady Topper has more calories than Pliny the Elder.
If I didn't know, I would have agreed with Heady Topper being the 2. Here's the thing. They are the same. Both of them have 240 calories.
Oh, okay.
12 ounces. Exactly dead the same, which kind of surprised me. I'm like, really? That's crazy. Which has more calories, Bud Heavy or Coors Banquet?
It's a toss-up on this one. I'm just going to go with Coors Banquet.
He wouldn't throw us 2 exactly the same in a row, Nate, I feel like. So, you know what? To go against Nate, just so we have some friendly competition here, I'm going to take old Bud Heavy there.
And you're going Coors, Nate. Okay. Mm-hmm. It is actually Coors Banquet +2. So they're very close, Nate. But they are not the same. No, I didn't have any. I don't think I have any other ones where they are exactly equal.
Okay.
Here's another one. How about New Belgium Fat Tire versus Pilsner Urquell?
Are we talking about amber ale Fat Tire or blonde ale Fat Tire?
See, that's the thing. I'm not. I think it's the new.
He doesn't know, Nate.
I think it's the new version because it's a new article. So I think they would have used the new formulation. Fat Tire. I'm still going to go with.
I'm still going to go with Tim though. Fat Tire.
Fat Tire.
Fat Tire. I thought I might get you guys both on this. It's Pilsner Urquell. It's actually 9 more calories than Fat Tire. Yeah, and I think it is.
How many more?
But 9 additional calories.
All right. So these are tough, Brian. These are so close. You're making us work, man.
I am. This is fun because you have a lot of expectations about these beers. It doesn't always hold up.
Preconceived notions in that? You never know, man.
Indeed. One last one. Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA versus Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA. Which is thicker?
90-minute.
I'm going to go Voodoo Ranger Imperial.
I actually don't remember. Let me check my notes. Okay. It is actually 90-minute IPA by 44 calories for a total of 294 total calories.
That's a lot. I mean, we're comparing that to looking back at KBS at 340. And then I would think, okay, if you had asked me which has, it's not more calories, but if you'd said how many calories do these beers have, and you threw out 90-minute IPA and KBS there, my guess would have definitely been more than 44 calories off between the two. So
no, between the it's surprising. It's really like the sugars, the amount of alcohol in it, and all that. So, and the thing to keep in mind is when you think about Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA, you're probably thinking about possibly the long beers, those stovepipes. These numbers are all based upon 12-ounce servings. I guess if you scaled them both up, they would both be, appropriately scaled. But your 19.2 ounce Long Beer Friday Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA isn't 250 calories as this list indicates. They're doing it by 12 ounces. It's actually 400 calories. So that long beer ain't small, in terms of calories. So
it's couple of those on a Friday night and you're done for.
Yes.
Good stuff.
For sure.
Good stuff. Well, Brian, one more story to share, a little viral news here. Down in Australia, the government, an MP there went viral for doing a shoey.
I had to do the same thing. I saw MP and thought, is that military police? No, it's member of parliament. Yeah, Australian member of parliament went viral for drinking beer from his sneaker. It sounds kind of revolting. I hate this idea.
It does, yeah.
But apparently this is some kind of real, legitimate Australian tradition. It's called a shoey, like you said, and it's typically done in celebration of some event. And apparently to do it right, you take off one of the shoes you're wearing, you fill it with beer, you shoot the beer, and then you put the shoe back on wet with the beer
still in it. Celebration? Australia,
yes.
we got to teach you guys how to celebrate, man.
Yeah. In this case, right. Yes. In this case, the member of parliament was drinking to his final day in parliament. I think he did it on camera. And it's something about there's only one way to do it.
I saw the video. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't actually watch the video. Just pull off a shoe and poured a beer and drank it. It disgusted me. I could believe that he did it. It was reported, and I moved on with my life. I didn't actually need to see it, but they wonder why Australia has a reputation for being as drunk as they are. When they do stuff like this, they bring it on themselves.
I thought it was the fact that like every piece of wildlife there is trying to kill it. Drop bears, constant threat of drop bears.
Drop bears? What is this?
You don't know what drop bears are?
No.
Well, they kind of look like a koala. They look like a koala, but they have like sharp teeth. They're faster, move aggressively.
Really?
And apparently, like the way they hunt is they'll watch like slow moving animals like coming under a tree and they drop out of the tree. And so they don't like stalk and run and chase. What do they call them? Are ambush
predator. Yeah.
But yeah, so they'll wait there in a tree and when something comes by, they drop on it. So,
and if you survive, you have to do a shoey.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you survive the drop bear attack, then some sloth out there doing shoeys in I don't know if sloths. I don't think they're in Australia, but yeah.
Probably not. Not if drop bears could take them out, because every single one of them would be murdered, probably by the same drop bear.
Shredded. Sloth carcasses everywhere, man.
I'm gonna have to look into this. I didn't know that was a thing.
Check it out. There's some videos of them on there, and they try to keep the distance of them. But it's pretty cool. So, but y'all, with that said, with our fun Australia story, we do have to wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us today. If you like what we're doing, we'd love for you to tell a friend. If you really enjoy what we're doing here, we would much appreciate your support on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beer guys. We'll send you some swag. We'll get you into our Discord server and we'll invite you to hang out for the after party. With all that said, we hope that you all have a really, really good week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.